All right, we are live. Let me get this tweeted out here. Awesome. Excuse me. All right, so we are just reviewing the day. Hope everybody had a great trading day today. It was another wild one as we've seen. I kind of want to just start off here on the 15-minute time frame, and I want to throw. Let's go to this one here, and just take a look at how the interesting how the SP. Let's Google. How the SPX behaved today. Okay, so we gapped up this morning, as you recall. IBM had some pretty big numbers. UTX, which I've never traded before but looks interesting, had some pretty big numbers as well. And PG, Procter & Gamble, had their earnings as well. So that kind of kept the Dow propped up for most of the day, and but the reversal kind of came pretty quickly. So let's take a look here. Just on the 15-minute time frame, just take a look at this. This is a good time frame to trade off of, right? So because we look at that for 15 orbs. So if we look at the way the S&P opened up this morning, so we opened here right into the 15-minute cloud, right? And we tagged the 50 moving average on the 15-minute time frame, right? A little bit of a push after it kind of came back in, pushed back up pretty decently, right? Notice how these orange lines here, the Bollinger Bands, notice how it kind of stayed above the upper Bollinger Band until it got this reversal bar right here. And so one of the things I want to talk about today is topping tails versus bottoming tails. And so this is a topping tail right here. It's not super huge, right? But it does show that it is a reversal bar. And so anytime you see basically a shooting star or a hammer that takes out several other levels, right? So it took out all these bars, right? That topping tail right there took out this bar, all the way to this guy, right? And so what that shows is that there's a reversal tendency at that point, right? So it couldn't quite fill this gap here, right? And then after that, it entered into the Bollinger Band range, right? And then so as it broke down through there, if you took that as an entry, for instance, at 26.48, right? Gave you a nice push down all the way to the mid Bollinger Band, right? And then kind of chopped around, gave you a nice push below the mid Bollinger Band, which remember this checkered line right here, this dotted line right here. This is that channel level that we were talking about, and I'll zoom back out and review the overall day. But you can see here, right? So push through that mid Bollinger Band here, around 11. We'll give you an inside 15-minute bar, right? Inside minute shooting star bar, right? So or topping tail, well, inside bar, right? Tagged the Bollinger Band and that key level, right? And then went much further to downside again. It also hit its 200 MA here, right? As it put in a spinning top, and then it gave you a bottoming tail. Okay, so this is the topping tail, right? The tail of the candle is at the top, right? And the bottoming tail, the tail is, so it's basically inverted hammer shooting star. And here's your hammer with a tail at the bottom, right? And the bullish sign here, right? It came right back through the 200 MA. Right? It also engulfed, right? Now the real body didn't engulf the entire real body here, but the full bar, right, engulfed this bar, right? So I mean, technically, the real body bar needs to engulf to call it like a bullish engulfing, but still the hammer itself engulfed the range of the prior bar, right? So that's very bullish, right? So it came basically off of your lower Bollinger Band, right? Plowed back through the 200 moving average on the 15-minute time frame, and then worked its way back up to the mid Bollinger Band, right, until it consolidated and gave a little push kind of at the end. So there. So it just kind of shows you the action today is very interesting. So kind of a nice movement, kind of gave you a shorting opportunity and even a long opportunity, but not as much follow through as the short. So to go back to the the daily time frame, just kind of see where we're at in terms of Elliott wave. Let's take a look here. So I've expanded this channel out further, but it basically encapsulated all of 2018 as we've seen, right? And so the bring this down a little bit here. So encapsulated all of 2018 here. You gave us the double top here, right? Gave you an impulsive move down, ABC. That was your wave 1, ABC wave 2, and at this point here. Right? We originally thought this could have been a wave 3 and a wave 4. We determined that it couldn't be wave 4 because it crossed over wave 1, right? There was a rule breaker right there. And then from that point, we had to determine what was happening. So this is a very sharp move up, right? So it would almost wouldn't make sense at this point that it was a 4, right? But it could be, part of like a zigzag pattern or something like this. This could have been your zigzag up, and then we're waiting for a wave B pullback potentially, and then another C. So we'll watch and see. Today was a good indication of some potential for further downside, but again, coming back up and closing above the DMs today, second time. So is this sort of a mirror image of this, right? So we tried to break today, couldn't quite break. Are we going to move up a little bit, right, and then finally break? I don't know. We'll see. But it's definitely worth watching. So I still am thinking possibly that we have a wave A up here, and we might get a wave B down, and then a C. The B might not be as pronounced, right? It might trick people. Everybody might want to try to get short here, so it might not really be expanded. So it might end up being like, somewhere here, somewhere obnoxious, where, maybe like right there where bears really want to get in, and then it finally pulls back, right? So, and then give the bulls another chance to get up here. So at that point, what is it, right? It's just a corrective pattern, right? And it could be a corrective pattern to a larger wave 3 down. It could be just the, let me see, so if this were 1, right? So, this could have been A, so 1, A, B, C. Yep, so then your 2, wave, larger wave 3 down could be working its way once it, retests back there. So, so we just have to watch and see how this all plays out, right? So, based on this, it looks like we're not going to really see any major action, or until mid-year. So just keep an eye on it. But if this would still give us a nice move down to look for some shorts. And I wanted to kind of touch on that today because we had Facebook today, and a bunch of you guys traded that better than I did. In the $50,000 challenge account, and I'm happy that you guys did that. So, but I do want to show you that it gave you another opportunity to go short today. Based on the 60 anchor. So I do get a lot of questions about, what's the 60 anchor, and so on the 60-minute time frame, it's where you use the last 60-minute bar of the prior day to trade off of. So, if you, as you guys know, I like to trade off of the 60-minute time frame intraday. And why do I like to do that? Well, look here. This, if you go to my pinned tweet on Twitter, where I talk about trading on the 60-minute time frame, you have your inside 60-minute bar here, right? You're under the VWAP. You break here to the downside, and then you had a nice down move yesterday, right? Additionally, we closed here with a hammer, right? And then we gapped up. So obviously, no real stellar news on that, right? I mean, just happened to gap up today, right? I mean, I can't remember what the headlines were, like some positive trade talk, or saying the negative trade talk the prior day was a lie or something, whatever the reason was, right? And I always find that funny, when you go back through and you look at charts and you study charts, you don't go back and read what the news was that we think, it's intraday when we see the price moving, we cling on to news, right, so much, right? Like, what's the story that's making this happen? Why is it doing this, right? And that's cool. I mean, that's, we're humans, right? And we like to know, what's going on, right? And so, but really, when you look at it, you don't go back and look at this chart. Well, what was the news here? What was the news there, right? You don't go back and, page through, your news feed to be like, oh, what happened there? Why did that move? Right? It just possesses us, or consumes us intraday, because we want to justify reasons for for our move or for our position, and so, or we're looking to get into a position. And so now, granted, of course, news results can help propel a stock, but we don't go back and research charts by going through the news, right? So in a way, we really shouldn't trade worrying about the two. We should just trade based on technicals, right? So anyway, so Amazon gave a pretty interesting. I'm sorry, Facebook gave a pretty interesting setup, right? So it gave us a 60 anchor here. This was an inside bar on the prior day, right? So inside 60 hammer. It was over the cloud, right, under the VWAP, and we gapped up. Okay, so we gapped up. It tested, interestingly enough, tested this orange line here, tested the upper Bollinger Band, right? Rejected it, right? And then came in really quickly. I don't know if you guys recall, I tweeted out, I was like, man, nice follow through today on Facebook, right? Well, the way you could have traded it here if you were not short at this point is you could trade it into this bar, right, into the inside bar. So just like we do the double inside day strategy, right, you trade it as it goes, reclaims that bar, right? So even in that case, it was $1.15 potential move there, right? Or if you didn't want to, you could have waited the halfway mark to see how it held there and traded that through this hourly 50 moving average. That would have been a good point to go short as well. Or you could have been more conservative and traded on a break of the hammer tail, which I like to call a tail fail. So a tail fail down, and could have shorted right there. And then from there, that was what was that? 146. And then you could have trailed. Looks like the VWAP was a really good marker today. You could have trailed just by the tails of the candles or the wicks of the candle, and you would have gotten all the way down to 144 from 146 for a nice extra 2-point move. And if you happen to hold it all the way down here, you could have got out around 143. So either way, there was a couple great ways to continue this trade. If you got out early yesterday, could have got back in today based on that 60 anchor. And I think that was one of the only 60 anchors that we had yesterday that was an inside bar. So yeah, so I just kind of wanted to review that. So one more, just wanted to re-review the topping tail and the bottoming tail, right? So they give you good indications for reversals. So shout out to Clayton today. Had a good trade on Procter & Gamble today. And so, this here you could consider a topping tail on the hourly bar. It's not quite that, inverted hammer or shooting star look, where you like that, the bottom of the candle to be a little more full. But it's still pretty good there. Never had any follow through intraday, but let's look how it looked on the daily. So the daily gave you basically a topping tail right here, which is really interesting because when you go back and see all the items, all the prior candles that it took out, it goes back pretty far. So it had a nice gap up today, but it reversed off of those highs pretty quickly. And so what happened here is that the Bollinger Band's really compressed right into this trade, right? You had a lot of kind of almost inside days, real choppy, and interesting enough, bottoming tail the day before earnings, but it took out all those bars. But here you had this one here, and then now you've got this really good reversal bar, this bottoming tail going into potentially a gap the next day. So if the market looks pretty weak, this would be an interesting one to short. Now I do want to give you kind of a heads up on these type of topping tail and bottoming tails. They don't always trigger the first day, and we've talked about that before. Sometimes these hammers are just so obvious, right, to the market that they often don't give you perfect follow through the next day. Sometimes they pause a day or two, and then you wait for that trigger there. So this is one to keep an eye on over the next couple days. If it kind of stays at the low end of this range and basically gets into this cloud, then I would presume that this gap would get filled here. So that would be basically an entry just below 93.63 all the way to 91.75. So you could get a nice 2-point move there. In options that could pay pretty decently. So it's definitely something to keep an eye on. And then basically wanted to see if I could find another good bottoming tail, and we did see one basically here. But it's tough to trade those into earnings because they're not always accurate. But there was, which one did we have the other day? One second. In fact, I should be able to find one pretty quickly here. One sec. So basically, it's just a hammer bar that takes out the a bunch of prior lows, and almost had one today. Do you want to use it as a kind of a key reversal? But I guess we saw one on the 15-minute bar today on the SPX. But let me just scan and see. Oh, here we go, Tesla. So so this is one of the reasons I took Tesla along today. I wanted to give it like one more day, but it's just too compelling not to take. So it had huge gap down here, right over some nonsense about. They fired like a bunch of people or something, like laid off a bunch of people, and production issues and all that stuff. So big, huge bar. 30, almost a 30-point bar off of that, right? So I had some folks that were looking at going long here, and I was like, I'm going to wait until it gets below this lower Bollinger Band, right? And then yesterday gave us a pause bar, somewhat of a pause bar, but still pretty big range, 12-point range here. And then today, another gap down, even though the market was gapping up, right? And so, to me, that showed like some, maybe the weakness is over, right? It had a nice number here of 281. I would have liked to have got a little bit lower, maybe hit this this pitchfork low. But I figure it was good risk reward. I'm not risking too much on it, but it did give us a bottoming tail, right? And so that we have this lower wick here on the candle, and it took out many bars before it, and so it could be a good potential reversal. Came back in to that Bollinger Band range, and so I'm hoping we get a little follow through at least maybe to reclaim some of this range, maybe up to the bottom of this cloud here. So I got the 320 calls on it. If it gets to 300, 315, I'll be pretty happy with that. So looking forward to seeing if this one could get a little bit of a push. Maybe they'll come out with some good news tomorrow morning or something like that, and it'll be gapping up $10 for us. So that'll be pretty nice. Just take a little quick peek here at the level 2, see how it's going. 287. Yes, it's about flat right now. So we'll see. But it's Tesla. It can move if it wants to. And like I said, my tight is really stopped. My stop is really tight, and so I'm not going to let it take me out. Basically, the low of the day on the 320 calls was $4.60, right? So when it hit the lows, that was the low of the options, and so I just set my stop at $4.40. So it's basically less than $100 risk on it. So, but it could be a big gain if it actually goes. So just wanted to kind of review those at this point. If anybody has any chart requests or questions, please put those in the chat box, and I'll be happy to get to those. And and we'll take care of that. So I hope everybody had a great day. Rob, what's going on, man? Good to see you. Matt, how are you? Yeah, it was a good day today, man. I hope you had a good day too. Kyle, what's happening? So for the 1530 orb, does the opening bar need to be followed by the same color? Oh, no, it doesn't matter. Does it need to, here's the question. Does it need to be followed by the same color bar, or can they be different as long as they meet the criteria? They can definitely be different. The color doesn't matter at the second bar. It's just about watching. Let's go to Tesla on the 15 3 days or 2 days ago and just look. It doesn't matter, but it helps for your direction, right? And so we'll go back here to this day. Look, and kind of give a nice shooting star start. And so here on Tesla, when it gapped down, right? So you trade in the direction of the gap, ideally, but you could trade a reversal. And what we saw here is that you had a 15-minute bar that closed, and so your range. Let me delete a couple of these drawings. A little too many colors here. So so with this range here, right now, I mean, obviously. It probably went a little bit green there. So it was green at the time. I mean, it could have gone up a little bit. So at this point, you just want to trade that break of that bar. At whatever point it makes sense to do it during the day. Sometimes it makes sense to do it later. Maybe you weren't looking at it here and you were looking at another one or something like that. But here, obviously, really negative news on Tesla. Market, not so good. And you just take that 320 entry right there, and then boom, right to the downside. So it dropped 5 points really quickly, dropped a little bit further. So it was a pretty decent move right there. And then even for 7 points. But if you waited, right, you could have followed your moving averages. Tesla really likes the 10 MA. So it caught up to the 10 MA, paused for a minute, and then went back down. Right, so that was one way to trade, but it really doesn't matter as long as you trade. As long as you can tell, it takes a little bit of an art to it, right? You have to see, what kind of momentum is going in the direction that you're looking at, right? So you don't want to trade it south, right away. Obviously, if it's green, and then if the next bar is looking really green or going inside, you just want to wait. But just keep an eye on the break, right? So, and if it's kind of moving slow, like IBM today, IBM had earnings today, but I think it stayed within the 15 orb all day. Yeah, I mean it was just did nothing. It was completely contained. I mean, so here's your 15-minute orb, right? I mean, you don't want to go. You wouldn't have taken it either direction, right? Because it never crossed above or below the top of the orb. See, I even had an alert right here. Because I was like, okay, it's pretty boring right now, but if it gets close to it, I did it a few cents, above it, then I'll take a look at it, right? But that alert never went off. I wasn't interested in taking it long today because everything was puking, and so not really looking at that. But this one the orb never triggered. But it's okay. Tomorrow we'll look at the 30 orb on that one, so it should be pretty interesting there. So hopefully that answers your question. Kyle, what's going on? Let's look at JP Morgan. Absolutely. Yeah, JP Morgan was on my list too, on my short list too, but I ended up doing Goldman Sachs the other day as a swing short because of the gap that it had to fill. Because it had, just because of the way it was handling earnings and stuff. But let's take a look at. So it's got inside month, inside week so far, so pretty narrow range on the week right now. the range itself of the week is only $1.73, as opposed to the previous week, which was $6, right? So you got inside week. On the daily, sorry about this big white cloud here, but it's that's the 49 moving average projected forward. So I just find it interesting to see. So we're in this kind of resistance zone. I did give it sort of a bearish kind of engulfing bar right here. The real body engulfed the real body there, and the whole body engulfed the whole body there. It's technically not fully bearish engulfing, but it's pretty darn close. So kind of a spinning top right here. So at this point, if you're looking at trade intraday, it's kind of hard to pick, but if we get really bullish here, over 103.75, might get you a push up to 104, 105. Then it's a heavier cloud resistance, and then a break to the downside too could get you to the lower Bollinger Band. I'm sorry, the mid Bollinger Band. So upper, mid, lower. So and then we also have a median line here, which I'll show here on the. It looks like you got an inside 60 anchor too, if you want to trade it off the open. JP Morgan's a fun one to trade off the open. It's definitely tradable. And then here, you can see a bunch of Fibonacci's. I'll take those off. So you've got, I have this prior pitchfork level here. Let me take this off here. Okay. So what it did is kind of pivoted right near some volumetric resistance, kind of came back in. It's kind of just hanging out, right, as you know, inside 60 at the end. So, if it goes to the downside, you might be able to get down to 100, but I would imagine that you would get some strong support at 100, and then pivot, and you could work to try to trade that back to the upside. Again, pretty sharp reversal. This kind of V bottom after it hit 91, kind of square, and then. Had pretty good earnings and all that stuff, so we'll see if we can get some follow through on that if it does pull back. But yeah, it can be interesting. So yeah, basically in terms of chart pattern, maybe 1, 2, might be working on a 3, like 1, 2, and then might give you a 3 back up there. So check on that. Marty, what's going on? Am I trading Nvidia? I'm not in it right now, but definitely watching it. It is. We traded it the other day. We made some money on it. So now we will, we're just kind of waiting. I got to wait, for the 50K challenge to get my pattern day trading released. So that's cool. I think maybe I can have Roku will open tomorrow. I just don't know what kind of time frame they do. I know it's like 5 trading days, but I don't know if they do it by the hour or if I just got to wait till Friday. Anyway, it did look like it was doing a corrective pattern here. It could be working on a bigger. So if this were wave 3, it's probably more like an ABC4, ABC4 at this point. It could be a 5-3-5 maybe. So this could have been a 5 wave up, A, B, C, 3 down, 1, 2. And I was just working on this wave 5 up here. So let me move this, activate, and just kind of put this as maybe a hypothetical there, question mark. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4 perhaps, A, B, C, 4, and then we might be working on an impulsive wave 5 next, right? It has been showing a lot of strength at the open, and there is a big gap right here that I might want to fill. So definitely worth watching. It's still at this level right here, this 151, 150. So it did break through that today to get some some volumetric momentum, but it needs to get above it again to prove that it can still do it. Right, and then if it can, and it can take out this level 3 or this wave 3, then you could get some potential more movement to the upside on that impulsive wave up. So not trading it, but definitely watching it. It does still look bullish. Shirley, how's it going? Manoj, how are you? Matt, what's going on? ISRG. Oh yeah, that's right? iSurge or Intuitive Surgical. As I call it, the big boy stock. I've tried trading this one before, and thought I could keep a tight stop on it. And golly, if it moves like 50 cents to $1, between spreads just on I think common shares. So it's really tough to keep tight stops on this one. You just have to be right, in your direction on it. This is a good one to look for straddles on too. So if you can get an area. So this is good to watch, particularly after earnings. Yeah, and it would be pretty fun to watch tomorrow too. on the 15-minute orb list as well, just to see how that is. So that's tomorrow. Oh, it's tomorrow afternoon Central Time, so after the close tomorrow. So we'll keep an eye on it. Might try to push up into earnings or something like that. But yeah, this level right here has clearly been some pretty strong resistance, and now this level here has become pretty strong support. So just see if it could push up. Maybe it can get it back up to 540 or something like that tomorrow if it wants to give a one-day pre-earnings run or something like that. But yeah, that should definitely be interesting. Julian, how are you, man? Good to see you. Can we talk? Can we look at Apple as it heads into earnings? Absolutely, man. So I just tweeted out, as you guys know, I tweet out all the FANG stocks, which are now the same as the Bubblehead $50,000 challenge update as well, because it's the majority of the ones I'm looking at. Occasionally I'll throw one out there like Roku or something that's really, really good, like Tesla, right? So that type of stuff. So at this point, Apple has been behaving pretty well, my opinion. So basically it moved up this reaction line, gap down, moved up this reaction line, and then kind of traced the pitchfork down. So in my eye here, I was originally looking for a bearish move, but then when I saw that possibly this is wave 2, and then it might be working on a double wave 3. Excuse me. Excuse me. A little sneeze right there. Sorry. Better than sneezing in the microphone, right? So 1-2 pull back, and then maybe a 1-2 working on a 3 of 3 potential impulsive move up. So it is looking pretty strong here, and I like the fact that it gave us a pivot today. I've done a couple retracements. Let me remove that. But if this were wave 1, subwave 1, then if we draw that retracement here, we can see clearly that wave 2 has just undershot that 61.8% retracement pretty well with a pivot, right? So to me, that tells me that is very potentially this wave 2, subwave 2. So 1, right, 2, and now we should get a doubly impulsive move up if this ends up playing out, and which is appropriate before earnings. So I do like this long before earnings. I wanted to it was gapping up this morning, so it would have been a nice overnight from last night. But again, today it looks after this pivot here, it looks pretty impressive. Like it could give us a nice push to the upside. So we'll see. We'll see how it handles. See how the market handles. Futures are a little bit down right now, so we'll have to see what kind of follow through we get. What else we got? Justin made it, man. Good to see you, of course. I haven't looked at Tesla in a few days. Yeah, I know, right? It's interesting, but it looks like there's some potential reversal there. So, for me, it was worth it just to try it. The chart just looks so good. So, Clayton, what's going on, man? Just gave you a shout out earlier on your Procter & Gamble trade. Yeah, I did. I went over PG already. I went over PG, and I even made that the whole subject, doing topping tails and bottoming tails today. So, but good trade on Procter & Gamble today, man. Great day. Manoj, what's going on, man? So Mo and Microsoft. Yeah, so Mo is in the news again today. And probably 15 orb would have been a possibility. I don't know, I had so many 15 orbs today. It's just like, on big earnings days, you just gotta try to just focus on a few. Yesterday was the big day. Yeah, that was that huge. I think Morgan Stanley downgraded him, right? That was the deal. And so yeah, it's a big downgrade yesterday. So 45 all the way down to 44 was a possibility. But yeah, so let's just see kind of how we're looking at big picture. Daily, did it give us? That didn't quite give us an inside day today. Yeah, but almost a pause day. It looks like it could give you a measured move to the downside. And then there's the the hourlies. It was a little bit choppy at the end of the day. But yeah, this is overall looking really, really bearish. Like I said, the monthly. Let me put that. Extend that to the right. Am I to the right? There. So it just broke out of this this channel here too to the bottom on the monthly, right? So overshoot. You now just watch to see if that serves as resistance, right? And so if it does, we can see a long way down overall. So definitely bearish on that one. Microsoft. Let's see. Obviously overall, clearly very bullish, long term, long trend type stuff. Let's see. It's had here, right? So it's got, right now it is it dealt with that long-term trend line. It does look like it has held it as a new support here, right? Kind of this formed the pitchfork right here, got to the median line, and now it's kind of breaking above it. So here, to me, you can see I already started this 1, 2. Right now, it looks like it's doing 1, 2, 3, 4. It looks like it could push up a little bit more to give you a wave 3. So just another trend line ahead. Let me remove that. So possible wave 3 here. I'll put a projection there. Possible wave 3 here. See if we can push up to this 110 area. Probably 110 will give you some resistance. Then it'll get you down to give you a wave 4, and then hopefully a wave 5 could get you out of the pitchfork there. So, Microsoft's very strong. Very strong stock. So we just have to see exactly what it's working on right now. So originally I had 1 ABC. 2, possibly 3. At this point, this can't be a wave 4. So it's very much, kind of a fractal of the overall market, but it does look more bullish than bearish, in my opinion. So, and I like how the MACD is kind of coming up, coming out of its shell there. So, definite potential on Microsoft there. Perky, what's going on, man? Hope you had an awesome trading day today. Darren, what's up, man? Good. I'm glad you like the new time, man. Me too. It gives me a little more time to do some fun stuff with the family. But gosh, it's a rush, man. I get home and just eat some food. I don't know where the time goes. Do the charts and then jump right on. So, but it's good. I'm glad you like it. IBM and UPS. Oh, UPS holding short in both, for the record. Yeah, IBM. I have no belief that it's going to continue to the upside. I think it had market makers like to move stocks around. They beat them up enough, and then beats on earnings. It's pretty standard. They do this all the time during the bull market. We'll see. I just don't really foresee it. Pushing too much higher tomorrow. I'm gonna observe the 30-minute orb on this one to see if we can get some more downside or some real downside on it. At least fill the gap a little bit. I just don't really see it happening. So, but we'll see. Right, there's a gap above it too, so you kind of have this island bottom down here now. So just keep an eye on that. So, and let's see, what do we got? Yeah, so it's IBM. So, and then UPS, right? So, yeah, UPS. I'm trying to think. We got earnings coming up? 31st. Yeah, it looks pretty interesting. So we got, I don't know how strong this pivot's going to be right here on this pitchfork, but if you get, a little bit more follow through the downside, it could test, right? Probably maybe test like 88, 89, those levels again before earnings, and then after earnings, we have to see. But in general, it looks like it's been working on sort of like this corrective pattern here. I had this sort of as a wave 1 down, now it's kind of like, A, B, C, 2. Maybe 1, 2, working on a wave 3 to the downside. So it does look overall pretty bearish to me. So I think your put ideas are not bad at all. So they look pretty good. Matt, what's going on? Noah's requested Nike. That's so cool. Yeah, so let's take a look at Nike. Obviously a really fun stock. They make cool shoes and cool clothes and everything like that. And it's actually doing pretty well. I did see, I subscribe to Insider Cow. It's like one of the only pay for, like news type things, like I subscribe to. I just like it. I like to see what the insiders are doing. The CEO of Nike just dumped, I think, like $12 million worth of shares. Theory or no theory. It's interesting to see, right? We know these guys' compensation could be $50 million a year. We know stock options and all that stuff. So dropping $10 million is no big deal for them. Although I would certainly like to have $10 million to play with. But anyway, it has reached a level. I was kind of running, just these lines here. I was just kind of looking at the time frame between pivots, and this is when I originally had looked at shorting this one at one point. I think I did. We did take one for the $50,000 challenge and just kind of got out real quickly. you know, this is kind of this time frame of like the pivot area, right? And so it looks like we've kind of hit that. And so at this point, you know, it's starting to pivot right here. So I'm concerned that, you know, just the time factor might be up, right? You know, you guys can do that, right? If you click here, you can click on Fibonacci time extensions and time ratios. So you know how you do a Fibonacci extension here? You could also do it from like, you know, from like these base levels too. Sorry. So we go here. You know, kind of like that. So if I did like, let's say from this gap up to the peak to the all-times high, right? Then I would see, oh, and then you could, oh, it's an extension. So I would extend it from wherever, just from there, let's say for instance, right? So you can see this pivot here from the all-time high was a 1.618 retracement, right? And so, you know, at this point it might get to the, you know, the 2.618 retracement here, you know, early February. So just something to look at, you know, as a potential, you know, trying to find pivot points and stuff like that. But you can see it played out pretty well. I mean, you know, just from this gap here, right, we had pivot at this line, pivot at this line. You know, obviously I designed it so the pivot was there. Another nice pivot here. You know, so, you know, Fibonacci's work in time too. So, so this is definitely something to watch. You might get a little more push to the upside, you know, kind of this 83 area. Maybe, and then that might be the ultimate pivot point. So I'm actually going to take this pitchfork off because it's no longer of use where we are. So what I might do is do a bigger one, maybe here, something like that. And I like that too because see how it gapped over the median line, and so now it's kind of using that as like a you know, some resistance, and let's see, it looks pretty good. So we'll just see how that holds up. But if it does hold here, you know, kind of comes back into the 79 and bounces, then we'll watch to see how it handles, you know, the mid of this pitchfork, which is basically right here, magically at this 1.618 retracement too. So who knows? Maybe it gets up to 86, you know, retest the highs, and that's your new pivot to come back down. So definitely worth keeping an eye on. So it's definitely a hard one to keep down, that's for sure. So. Pre-arcade, what's going on? Starbucks going along at 68.70. Yeah, they've got, let's see. When are their earnings? Tomorrow after the close. Okay. Yeah, I mean, so, you know, definitely we're trying. You know, a bunch of you guys did great. You know, on these calls, I got out early just because I didn't like being up 2 points and being flat on the options. But a lot of you guys got some good follow through on this. You know, 65 level was my, you know, was my target, my first target. You know, I got out at like 64 because it was kind of chopping. But you guys who held that, it just shows you that these quick spikes, even if you've got flat options, can really propel it and push it forward as long as you don't have that time decay. And so it didn't hurt too to have a little bit of extra volatility juiced into it because of the, you know, because of the earnings coming up. And so, so yeah, so nice, nice push to the upside. It might extend a little bit more. You know, I was kind of targeting a wave 5 to, you know, it could be a truncated wave 5, but I was kind of targeting this larger wave 5 to get above it. So you know, still bullish on Starbucks. Shirley, what's going on? Darren, hey, no problem, man, my pleasure. Shirley, all right, I'm gonna do 5. That's cool with you. All right, so let's start with pump. Pump you up. Okay, so pump, we've got ProPetro Holding. ProPetro Holding. Okay, so oil type deal. Let's see. So looking pretty interesting here. So obviously, you know, major high, major low from 10 to 22. That would have been a nice. I know you look for those, Shirley, to get these, you know, these ones here. So that's like a pretty good pitchfork too, because I like how it's serving as resistance on the median line. So now you've got these volumetric support areas. So just see how it holds here. You know, say like a stop. You know, not too far below that. You know, 1450, 1445, and then just kind of look and see, you know, how much push it can get. So it's almost like an inverted head and shoulders too, right? You got shoulder here, head here, shoulder here. So if it kind of it's kind of coming back up. You know, a nice little break here of 16 looks like a key level. If it does that, I think you can get some more movement to more volumetric resistance here at 17. And if we can get through that, you've got a nice air pocket there all the way back up to 1950. So that one looks really interesting. Earnings coming up too at the end of February. So pretty good one on that. Let's go VIPS, VIPS. Very cool. Yeah, mostly bearish, right? Obviously, you know, nice little. It's perking up a little bit, but it has lots of resistance to get through. You know, something like that. There, maybe. It's an interesting one. Yep. So just look here. You know, might get up to like $8, but look to see if it pivots there. It might feel that little gap there up to 9, then might pivot and come back in. So that one looks pretty interesting. Let's go to C. You've got on there. Or is it CBD? Probably CBD if I know your stocks. So let's see. So yep, it's been hanging around this volumetric area here. Kind of broke out a little bit. Needs to get over $26 to start to move to take out another pivot up in the 30s. But this could be a very interesting one here. $8 to here. So yeah, just see if we can get, you know, a little bit of a push there over 26. 27, you know, might be a next stop, and then above that, you know, like I said, in the 30s. So that could be interesting. Let's go, UTX, we'll take a look at that, and then we'll take a look at Coke, and then we'll be done with that. So UTX. So UTX had a huge gap up today. I'm looking for potential reversal around 121. Obviously, I've been stalking this a little bit. Lost my pitchfork capability. So 37.4 up to 144. Nice move there. So that's kind of your weekly pitchfork. And let's see how it's looking. So nice gap up today. You know, we'll see if it can pivot, you know, somewhere around this area. I do Clayton was mentioning earlier that the was that SIG? The options were a little thin, but they're pretty good here. You had some volume today in the Februaries. Yeah, the spreads are a little bit rough on these guys. So you got to be pretty right on UTX to trade. But you know, maybe if it gets over to 121, we'd look at doing like a you know, a put spread or something like that. But see how high that gets, and then see if it pivots for you. You know, for another move down. So what I had here was wave 1, 2, 3. Did that invalidate here? So that was a high today of 119.34 and a low here of, yeah, so that can't be a wave 4 at this point. So so we might be working on a wave 2 of 2, potentially the downside, or you know, a full reversal might be in, and this could just be a 1, 2, you know, that could be a 3. You know, it might pull back for 4 and then 5. You know, we'll see if it was a zigzag you know, corrective pattern, you know, or if it's going to work to all-time highs. I don't know. We'll see. How are the earnings anyway? They said they were good. Yeah, they're pretty good. so we'll see on that one. And Coke, how's that doing? Still working its way up and down the pitchfork, right? So or the channel, however you want to look at it. So yeah, put in highs, you know, kind of came back down, just got through some volumetric resistance right there, kind of working its way back up. You know, might be good up to, you know, 50 again, and then might reverse as well. So just see, it could be putting in another kind of head and shoulders shoulder right here. If it does, it'll close at the median line at the pitchfork, and then you might get some downside again to that 42 area. It does look bullish though, just kind of looking at the you know, the RSI and stuff like that. So it looks like there is some potential. Thank you, Shirley. Carl, what's going on? Thoughts on BKNG? Let's take a look. I would take a look at it yesterday. So we have this this pitchfork here based on the hourly chart. You know, kind of working its way up and down. So it's got this volumetric resistance right here. So you know, not really sure. You know, kind of wave-wise, it's got this kind of really expanded, you know, or extended, you know, thing going on here, you know, corrective wave. But you know, it could be working its way up here. It gave you a pivot, but gave you another pivot here. So it's just a little bit tough to trade at this point. So I would wait for it to get over, you know, kind of this 1780, you know, kind of level, you know, to maybe take out 1800. And if it does that, then you know, you could be working your way up to 1900 there. If you get another pivot at the median line at like 1775, you know, to the downside, then it could work its way down, you know, to these other pivots, you know, back down to 1680, you know, 1670, 1630. So it does look interesting. It's a little bit challenging on that, just based on the wave setup there. It's a little bit difficult inside week so far. Inside day today, so that's something to look at. And a little bit of momentum here on your 60-minute bar. So yeah, so it kind of gives you something. Chris, what's going on? Yeah, I got what did I get? The February, I think February 1. Yeah, February 1st, because they'd be too expensive past there. And then it was just after earnings, right? Well, they own earnings on like the 30th or the 31st on Tesla. Let me see. So I got it like a day or two after. Yeah, so they're doing it on the 30th. So just 2 days there. This way, maybe I can get a little squeeze on the premiums, a little boost on it, just for the volatility that's gonna, hopefully rise up a little bit for us heading into earnings. So yeah, so that could be a pretty interesting one there. Yeah, so February 1, 320s. Kevin, what's going on? Glad you caught it, man. And Carl, you're short. Carl, on which one? Sorry, man. Oh, you're short. Yeah, I mean, it looks good either way. It just looks really tough to tell. So inside day, right? So just watch a break to the upside. Might be a good place to get out. But a break to the downside could be good. You do have your daily Bollinger Band curling up. Kind of everything's kind of look like it's pointing up to the cloud right there. So it could hit there, but like I said, if it pivots, you might see some downside too. So just a tough position. But good. Yeah, exactly. Thanks, man. Yeah. So tough one to be in either way, in my opinion. But I hope it works out for you. I hope it pukes. So anyway, guys, I appreciate it. It's getting pretty close to 8 o'clock. So appreciate all the chart requests and the participation. Hope the review on Topping Tails helped out a little bit. Here actually, Carl, like you had a nice top and tail here. Testing that upper Bollinger Band, right, and had a nice move to the downside. Just happened to kind of gap up today and then give you inside. It's a jumpy stock definitely, and but hopefully you can get some follow through off of that topping tail there. So that'll be good. Yeah. So hope we learned stuff today. Hope everybody has a great trading day tomorrow. I should be trading live at the Open on Friday. So it looks like we'll try to do that. And in the meantime, everybody stay safe. Know your risk before getting in a position, right? And don't let anything move against you too much. So limit your losses and bank your gains. And have a great night. I will talk to you guys tomorrow.